The Spanish announce table.
It is episode 327 of the Spanish announce table. Now, the caveat to that, Tom, is that this is the 400th episode on this feed right here. You can scroll back and find 400 episodes. That means we've done a podcast called Tim and Tom Together twice. We've done some Road Stories episodes. We've done some Tweet the Table episodes. And then all of these right here, Spanish announce table. So this is the 400th time I've asked you, Tom, how in the fuck are you?
Well, Tim and ball sacks listening.
Oh, yeah.
This is the 400th time.
Bitch asses. I forgot to say.
Yeah, it happens. You know, it happens.
Oh.
But for the 400th time, I'm
so
going to tell you.
But the 400 times, I should have said, hey, bitch ass. Now this is the 300th. So, yeah, okay, right. Yeah.
You know, hey, look, you have 400 more times to practice
I
on
have
that.
a whole lot of practice at this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but for the 400th time, not much, man.
No.
How are you?
Well, you know, there's still a COVID thing, so, you know, not much here either, you know.
Yeah.
Working and just trying to live, Tom. But that's good because we don't need to bog down this show. It's going to be jam-packed anyway.
Oh, I tell you what, it is.
Yeah, before we get into that, by the way, we're a pro wrestling show. We like to talk about pro wrestling. We like to entertain you, the fans. We're doing that. You should give us $1. You can go on SpanishAnnounceTable.net. There's a PayPal link up there with which to give us $1. Or you can check out things like our merch store, the Amazon link. Ooh, I think I took down the Amazon link.
Yeah, good.
I think maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's there, but don't use it.
Yeah, don't use it.
Buy our merch. Donate. And all the links are there. Our YouTube, our TikTok, our Twitter, our Facebook. You can follow all the things there. But this is WrestleMania season. We had a hell of an episode of AEW Dynamite. There was a Hall of Fame, NXT Takeover Night 1. We're recording on Thursday, so it's Night 2 happening right now. We're competing. We'll see who gets the better ratings.
Probably us.
You know. But, so we've got a whole lot to talk about. So we'll just get into it, Tommy. Where do you want to start even?
Well, you know, as this is the Spanish Announce Table 17.6 reboot, we have now focused in on our favorite promotion since the reboot, and that is AEW. So let's start with AEW Dynamite, as we have for the last few episodes. So let's get right into it with a quick recap and then some final thoughts. And then, as Tim mentioned, we'll get into some WrestleMania talk and NXT Night 1 coverage and things of that nature, and tweet the tables, as of course, at the end. But let's get right to it. So it kicked off AEW Dynamite with the coolest fucking wrestler in pro wrestling, Hangman Adam Page, taking on the fastest rising star in AEW, in my opinion, the guy that I always make sure to watch if I know he's on, Max Castor. These two locked horns last night. It was a very fun match. Tim, what did you think?
I like this a lot, and I like Max Castor myself. He's so fun coming out with the Acclaim gimmick with him rapping and the hype man. I like that. God, what is the other guy's name even? I keep forgetting.
Hype man. Flavor Flav.
Getting punked out by Hangman to start. But the rhymes are great. The rhyme on Dark, I think it was either Dark or Dark Elevation. I don't know. I think it ended Dark. Was great. The High Horse video that Max Castor has. I see nothing but money for Max Castor. I like this guy a lot.
Yeah, I think Max Castor right now is hitting home runs with everything he does. It's going to be interesting, though, where right now, as you said, he did the music video making fun of Hangman Adam Page, dressed up like a cowboy, made all the cowboy insults. It was very well done. Where I think I'm interested in his next iteration, and obviously we got time till we get there, but let's hypothetically say 6 months down the road, you're facing Hangman again. What do you do then? You know, because he hits home runs right from the jump. It is dig into you and make you feel uncomfortable as if you're on the receiving end of his insults. So I'm just wondering, like, do you got round 2 in you if you guys have to face each other down the road? So again, we got time to get there.
I think he hits great, you know, lines that are very current events, right? Like he finds ways to throw things in. Like what do you say? Talking about Biden falling up the stairs.
And that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Flavor Flav of the Acclaim. I like that he doesn't just stand there and look dumb. Like he was doing the falling down like Biden. So at least if you're going to not rap, you're going to be a part of the raps. And so credit to him for at least playing a part. But yeah, so Hangman took on Max Castor, as you said. He came in guns blazing, pun intended for a cowboy, and kicked Flavor Flav right in his face, and then went after Max Castor. And man, this was a fun one. Hangman Adam Page gets the victory. Interesting note here, though, is the rankings were introduced earlier in the day, and the number one contender for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship is the Hangman, Adam Page. So my question to you, obviously Kenny Omega is tied up in a little bit of a storyline, but without necessarily a viable number one contender. Jon Moxley's there, but I don't think Jon Moxley's the focal point anymore. So when do you think we pull the trigger on this Hangman takes on Kenny Omega?
I mean, yeah, that would indicate if he's the number one contender that it would be him. But I'm not 100% sure that we do want to do that right now, right? I mean, it seems a little early to pull that trigger, don't you think?
Yes, I do. Because as, we'll get to it later on in the episode, Jon Moxley's still on the receiving end of these beatings from the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. And now, again, spoiler alert, the Young Bucks. But I think Jon Moxley isn't the one part of this breakdown. I think it's that he's just serving a part to get beat up. And so I think it's interesting to see when he gets phased out and then Hangman then gets put into there, because as we've talked about before, we have to have Hangman Adam Page taking on the Elite. But with that being said, I think the Elite needs to flush out some of their things where they need to, establish who they are. So I don't know. I'm very interested to see what happens there with a Hangman that's established as the number one contender, but then now the Elite gets past this. Are the Young Bucks in there? Are the Young Bucks not? Will they all be the Super Elite? Will the Good Brothers then break off? So that's where I'm interested to know when this will happen, because like I said, Jon Moxley served as a good purpose, but he's not the reason for the story. The story is the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and all of that. But Hangman's the number one contender, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know an easy way out of that, but it also makes me then worry that maybe you're wrong and Hangman doesn't save the day from Kenny Omega.
Well, but here's the fun story we can tell. Again, I think we have some weeks to get into developing the Super Elite or whatever the fuck we're calling them, right? But once we do get there, I think the interesting story is Hangman got kicked out of the Elite because maybe Hangman was being, anxious millennial cowboy, but really he was the good one. And now the Elite are heels. So fuck them. If you go back to Stadium Stampede when it was the Inner Circle versus the Elite or whatever we called them back then, Matt Hardy, heel. The Young Bucks, heels. Kenny Omega, heel. But Hangman Adam Page, he's still there as your babyface. So I think that's where we can tell that story of like, look, I was never the issue. It was fucking you guys the entire time.
Yeah. It was interesting, though. I the one that caught my eye more was that Max Castor was 3. The rankings, interesting enough. Oh, people in the top 5 just happen to be who we have on this card this week sometimes. So, I mean, I get some of it's pro wrestling rankings, don't get me wrong. But I do like, and it's noticeable, and we can talk kind of as the show goes along, they find a way to squeeze a lot of folks some TV time and some exposure and some positive light. It's not even just like, oh, look, he got his ass kicked. Look, he got his ass kicked too, right? Like it's decent exposure, and Max Castor is, I think, a prime example of it. I liked all of this.
Definitely. So as we move past Hangman getting the victory and then celebrates with the beer, because remember, it was National Beer Day, so credit to Hangman.
Some dude in the crowd was really excited about getting a beer.
I would have been. Yeah. Oh, my God. I would have said, throw me 3 more. I would have stone cold them and fucking, I would have been all types of sideways drunk if Hangman Adam Page was throwing me beer.
True that.
But then we had Tony Schiavone in the ring, and he was introducing Death Triangle. And before Death Triangle could even get a word out, as is kind of standard par for the course with AEW interviews, they get interrupted by the best friends and Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander, because now they have an alien. And long story short, the best friends say, hey, we haven't forgot what you did. Back when we used to have crowds, You guys jumped us. Even when we didn't have crowds, old Ray Phoenix punted Orange Cassidy in the head into the 5th row, right? So we're back, motherfuckers, and we're going to kick your ass. I liked how Pac was like, yeah, I know why you want to fight us right now, because we're the number 1 contenders. And next week, after we beat the Young Bucks, you just want to fight the champs. Piss off. And it was just, I like this one a lot. Although I am tired a little bit of the, hey, here's the talent. They don't get to talk because they just got interrupted. I'm a little tired of that.
Yeah, they're very thick with that on AEW, yeah.
Yeah. But what do you think about a future, I guess, trios match between the Best Friends and Death Triangle? Are you interested in that?
I don't mind that at all. I like how Pac said that. He was like, no, what you're really out here is you see the writing on the wall. You know we're going to beat their ass, and we're going to be holding that gold, and you want to jump to the front of the line. Tough. Piss off, right? Like, you suck. Get out of here. I do like, kind of that whole just the snide, like, skeptical, like, I don't believe this bullshit. And that'll be great. I mean, that'll be a great feud. I think that'll help get the Best Friends away out of this Miro nonsense, but just that's been done now. So I'm for that, I guess. This is the thing with some of the faction warfare is it starts to become, well, everybody in the faction's got to face everybody in the faction sometimes, because I said they're not layering it the proper way. It becomes this whole faction's fighting this whole faction at once, as opposed to just like power struggles and favors behind the scenes and stuff. It doesn't have to be like we always come out in a matching vest every time we come out here like a motorcycle gang. It can just be alliances, right? And I wish it was more a little bit like that, because now what happens, we got to have another 3-man group for both of these guys when they get done. So I'm a little worried about that, but I mean, this will be entertaining matches and probably a decent storyline here, albeit storyline will probably have to be, well, Pac will be able to carry a lot on their side, I guess.
With the promos and stuff.
Yeah, with the promos and stuff.
Although I will say, Pentagon and Phoenix, although they can't speak the best English in the world because it's not their first language, they are very just captivating and have charisma out their fingertips here, so they can do that part. Well-placed
moments, even with a well-placed, few lines and even moments will be just fine for that. Yeah.
By the way, 2 things I wanted to get feedback from you on. One, Ray Phoenix, did you notice how he got in the ring where he just jumped over the top rope and just gracefully just did a front flip and then like, hey, I'm here.
Like sin card, but without the ramp.
It looked as natural as someone like walking out of a pool. It was just the weirdest thing in the world. And then 2, we had talked about faction warfare and things like that. Well, in this faction warfare, it is 3-on-3. However, now the Best Friends have this alien, Chris Statlander. Where do you think this goes? What's your interest level in an alien with the Best Friends? What are your thoughts on that?
A friend of mine I used to do a podcast with a long, long time ago. It's called the Fraudcast. He had a way of talking about how when things get overdone with television and movies, and when it's like starting to be the end of the run for the story, is he said once you start getting the animal sidekick, right? Like, and not that she's in it, but like you said, now there's an alien, in with the Best Friends, which is like, okay, that didn't. Now this is an out of place. Also ran, right? So, yeah, I'm a little worried that this will be nothing, but it also doesn't have to be anything big. Like I said, this can just be, you know what I mean? Something that happens. She doesn't have to come out there every single time. They don't have to go out there with her every single time. Those kind of things. Like you know what I mean? Like we have best friends, right? Are we best friends? We don't go everywhere together, right? Like we don't walk around everywhere. Like every time you go to Walmart, I'm not like there with you. You know what I mean? Like we're in the same shirt, ready to watch your back, right? So, yeah. Should be fine, and it'll get her some TV time and put her in some interesting stories probably if they do it right.
I'm more interested in some of the promos that I can see happening with her and Orange Cassidy where they're just in weird circumstances, lost in the woods. Maybe they bump into Jurassic Express, things of that nature.
They need to turn the Best Friends with the alien into like the Scooby-Doo gang. They need to be fighting crime, if you will, like, unsolved mysteries, right? Like conspiracy theory style, almost mysteries, not full on hat wearing, right? But just acting like they're snooping around trying to get to the bottom of something weird, right? And just like almost they'll be like, just seems weird, right? Like but they're just fine, right? And they could uncover a few plots and plans and foil some things by accident even. Like, yeah, this could be fun. But again, I think that would be a comedic twist, which they've kind of had.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. So, like, if you go back, at the early days of Dynamite, when it was the Inner Circle versus Cody and the Elite, you had a backstage fight, and in the bathroom, Orange Cassidy was just standing there because he's Orange Cassidy. So that's where I think we're going to get, Chris Statlander being an alien bumps into Kenny Omega. And then as Kenny Omega starts to like puff his chest and like, what are you doing in my locker room or wherever the situation is? Orange Cassidy just glides in and is like, hey, she's with me, and like takes her off. And then now Kenny Omega wants to fight Orange Cassidy. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where they're going to use, Chris Statlander. And also I think eventually we're going to get some more mixed tag team matches where, Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian need to take on someone. So this is where Chris Statlander and Orange Cassidy can fill that void. Or, Brandy Rhodes, when she comes back, Brandy and Cody need to face someone. Well, you got Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander. So I think that's where we're going to go with that. But I do enjoy that it's not just all men together and all women together. One thing that, even though it gets a little convoluted, but Matt Hardy's faction of like a bunny and then a butcher and private party, like it's just a collage of people. And sometimes that's how it is, right? All of your friends aren't, dark-haired, blue-eyed white guys either. So I like that aspect of it as well.
Maybe yours aren't.
So after the commercial break, we got another promo, and let's backtrack a little bit. The Inner Circle is back, and they are back in black. They actually kicked off the show before the match, and they came in all the coolest cars in the world wearing all black.
Except Jericho just left his car door open. Like, just left it all unattended.
Fuck it.
No,
hey, no.
Somebody can take it.
Yeah, someone will take care of that shit. Yeah. Oh, you want to take that one? I got 3 more back in the fucking Jacksonville.
You don't even know how to drive it.
Yeah, exactly.
Dork.
Yeah, fucking dorks don't know how to drive a stick. Get the fuck out of here. No one's taking it here. But then we had the Inner Circle. And this was solidifying that the Inner Circle in this feud with the Pinnacle, they are the baby faces. We had a bunch of Jericho, you're going to be backing us in this feud, and we're going to use your help to get past the Pinnacle. Now, he also did cut some amazing promos making fun of MJF, calling him my jerk-off friend, talking about how bad his tan is, Sean Spears and his blonde Mohawk, and how that's as stupid as you can be in 2021.
Stealing his gimmicks.
Yeah, stealing his gimmick with the scarf because he did that 5 years ago.
There if you want to make a list,
yeah. I thought this was good. The only thing I wish they could have done is Jericho's obviously the leader of this group, and he always has been. However, the Inner Circle's been a faction since episode 1 of Dynamite, and we're going up on 2 years. I wanted to hear a little bit more from maybe a Sammy Guevara or a Santana.
Yeah, I would have thought this Inner Circle would have been doing, and I think it's lifted Sammy Guevara some.
Yeah, definitely.
Jake Hager, I don't think it ever was intended to do, like, he can be the muscle, but just kind of, you know what I mean, without taking a whole lot of the coverage. But, like, you could argue the LAX have not benefited from this largely much, other than just getting the TV time being associated with the group. But, like, they ain't winning titles.
That's true.
You know what I mean? They ain't seeming like that. Like, because what's preventing them from winning the titles? Because Hager and, you know what I mean, Guevara are out there fucking with anybody who tries to, you know what I mean, and healing out for them. So, Jericho's promo was good. There was a couple flubs in there. I think he messed up a couple things, transposed a few things, but
well, then he mentioned about being 25 and still having wet dreams. I was like, that makes you look kind of stupid.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He's, this Jericho's a little weird. But, here we go. I think we knew where this was headed, so.
Well, yeah, exactly. Where it's headed is May 5th, which will be the next pay-per-view. We're getting a blood and guts match, which is essentially AEW's version of War Games. So Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle in a blood and guts match. I like this move. I think it's time for them to finally do the blood and guts match, because if you remember, before the pandemic, it was going to be the Inner Circle versus the Elite in a blood and guts match, but then they called the audible and did the Stadium Stampede. I would argue I liked Stadium Stampede so much that should be their signature, and they shouldn't be copying, even though it has a different name, War Games. They should be doing the Stadium Stampede.
Stadium Stampede, yeah. Like I get the problem is it's a lot of the same jokes because they were football themed, right? So you'd just be running a bunch of football themed jokes again. So they may have felt like they did it all there.
Yeah, but again, it's a football stadium and you have a bar area. I mean, it's not just a football field. I mean, you have the whole thing to do, or whole thing to, make some spots with. So I thought it would be interesting because of who the owner is and who the owner's dad is. Like, you can always make, you can always make the Stadium Stampede match your thing. If WWE wants to do a big time match, and let's just say they're in Green Bay, like, the Packers aren't going to say, yeah, use our stadium. They're going to say, like, pay us some fucking money. But with AEW, they could use that stadium whenever and however many times they want.
Is Green Bay where R-Truth thought he was when he said the wrong city, or was he like
I think
in
so.
Green Bay and somewhere?
Because I think he said, I think he said, like, hey, Green Bay. And they're like, you idiot, we're in Milwaukee.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Yeah. That was great.
Fucking R-Truth.
All right, so then after the announcement of May 5th, Pinnacle versus Inner Circle in a blood and guts match, we had, after the commercial break, Christian Cage being interviewed. And just like every other interview, he could only get a couple words in, and Taz interrupts and says, hey, bro, I think you're great. I think you'd be even better if you were with Team Taz. Christian tries to say thanks, but no thanks. Taz cuts him off and says, just sleep on it. Just get back to me when you can. Don't answer now. You can give me an answer when you're ready. Dasha, to her credit, says, like, that's a huge opportunity, which credit to her to not say, like, well, that was dumb, wasn't it? Like, she elevated Team Taz without really elevating Team Taz. So I thought that was a good move. But Christian Cage and Team Taz, what do you think there?
I liked this. I like the subtle alluding to the story that's coming, right? I think we can tell that's what's going to happen. We're going to get Team Taz somehow involved with Christian. He'll maybe take on, Brian Cage or something, but he's going to turn him down, right? And that's what's going to spark this. But I like Taz was like, hey, no, dude, you don't even got to tell me. I'm just going to go. And then later, which we'll get to in his storyline, the short little bits we get of the longer storyline was amazing here.
Definitely. So after the backstage interview with Christian Cage, we got a Godzilla versus Kong sponsored match. And I will say this. We have seen, product placement and things of this nature in pro wrestling for as long as pro wrestling's been around, it feels like. Since the days of Buddy Rogers appearing on I Love Lucy, we've seen this marriage of pop culture and pro wrestling, which, okay and great, right? We want to be a part of the cool crowd. And right now, one of the biggest movies in the world is Godzilla versus Kong. So come hang out in our world. Where I will give them credit is if they were going to do a Godzilla versus Kong match, I don't think you could get much better than Jurassic Express versus Bear Country. And what I mean by that is a Godzilla versus Kong match. If it was the Hangman Adam Page versus Max Castor match, makes no fucking sense, right? Like, that's just hey, it's Godzilla versus Kong. But this, the animals, Luchasaurus, Bear Country, Jungle Boy, Godzilla, King Kong, like, it all has a great synergy to it.
Yeah, that was the best cast for it.
Yeah.
But it was like, okay, you kind of got the Godzilla part right because you have a giant lizard, but the other guys are bears, right? They're bears. Their names are Bears.
Yeah.
They're bear. So you got a bear, a dinosaur, and a dude.
Which
is a cooler name. Bears, dinosaur, and a dude. That's maybe the name of this episode. I don't know. But yeah, I think you're right? This is the most like, these are wild animals. We got wild animals. Somebody put a leash on these things. Mm-hmm. Let them loose in the ring. And
I thought for what you were going to do when you make the deal of, okay, we'll sign off on doing a Godzilla versus Kong match, at least it had some silliness to it. It wasn't the trios match later on as the main event.
Yeah, it wasn't Lance Archer versus fill in the blank, right? It wasn't
exactly. Yeah, so this was a good match. It actually has had some good storytelling prior to this match on episodes of Elevation and Dark, so credit to them for building stories not just on Dynamite by itself. But Jurassic Express gets the win. I thought this was an okay move. However, I just don't know where Bear Country goes after this. I thought, we all know Jurassic Express, right? Boy and his dinosaur, and then the little guy, Marco Stunt. They're going to be fine, relatively speaking, for the long haul, unless you really start just having them lose to everyone. But Bear Country, I felt, really needed the victory here to say, like, we're fucking bears. You know what I mean?
I think AEW's running into a problem of they've got enough people on enough, we'll call this rosters, right? If we have a tag team roster, if we have a mid-card roster, if we have a, they've got enough that they could have separate brands like the WWE, right? So I think it would be smart to utilize the 3 levels of shows you have with Dark Elevation to kind of make a, not quote-unquote like minor leagues, AAA, whatever system, but like that's the idea, right? We're starting down here, we're kind of moving up, and then like even if it's a matter of like you're trying to get to Dynamite, right? And you've got to like you have your rankings. Your lower ranking folks should be down here telling some stories, and have them be different and weave in and out, and then they can show up here. They get a shot to earn X amount of, cred or points or what be it, right? Like I think there's ways to handle this, but right now it's becoming kind of like you said. We've got Bear Country. We've got this new Ethan Page and
Scorpio
Sky. So we're got to push those guys. We've got the Boy and a Dinosaur. We can't forget about them. They were catching heat. Fire. We can't let that go. We've got the FTR. They're in a new faction that we've got to make them look good. We've got the Young Bucks. Don't forget about them, right? They're kicking people's faces and stuff and touching fingers. So we got a lot of stuff to do.
So what do you think? What do you think? Because the easiest story to tell is, especially if you watch WWE, because they'll just add a new title whenever they feel fit. What do you think of the idea of having an Elevation title or a Dark title, something to that degree?
I don't know about that necessarily. Outside of like something to earn, right? Something to earn. But the more titles you have, right? Like who gives a fuck about the Dark Elevation champion, right? Because it also pigeonholes them to being there and having to defend it, right? But if you're somehow earning a spot up on Dynamite to get a chance, for whatever, or if we had to, what I mean? I would have to think a little more on that. Maybe something will come to me. But, yeah, I mean, the idea being that, like, there's an idea that we know it's not a hard line, right? You're not signing a main roster contract. But, like, man, aren't you on Elevation for 90% of your matches? Like, man, fuck you, I'm getting there. That kind of thing, right? Like, that would not be harmful, and it would allow for this segregation of stories to work. Now, I still like there being an ability for some to come up, some to come down, right? Like, the amount of Christians showing up on a Elevation and getting in the mix in somebody's story for a little bit, those kind of things. But, Bear Country, again, I don't know what you do with them. Anything you do with them will be like anything else you do with them, unless there's a very specific story written for them, which I don't feel like they're going to give them that kind of time at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just curious because also, if you think about Bear Country, how, for example, in WWE, I think the pinnacle for the Bray Wyatt character was to take on The Undertaker, right? That was always something where, like, that's the ultimate goal for this character. I almost feel that they did the Jurassic Express storyline too early, because that I felt like was going to be a pay-per-view match. And maybe it can be, right? May 5th is not that far along. They could have Jurassic Express next week in another match. Bear Country cost them that match, and then they get back into a feud. Go ahead.
Well, so a team like Bear Country, and even to a larger extent, this Boy and his Dinosaur, WWE in the 80s was trying to market themselves like a comic book come to life or a Saturday morning cartoon come to life. So they had very cartoonish characters. Nowadays on the indie scene, you'll get some of that, and I feel it's like a hipster kind of novelty vibe to it, right? People be like, look, he's a dinosaur, right? And it's like, isn't that neat, right? Like that kind of stuff. But that can only get you so far. What do you do with a team, Tom, of fucking bears? What are you going to write that people are going to watch on TNT, right? The home of NBA, the home, right? That they're going to be like, look at these two bears and not the gay bears, right? Like I'm talking like these are two bears with some claws. This might still be the same thing. Like, I mean, like what? I mean, like I'm sure you can come up with a storyline or two here for me, but like, I have no faith that like I'm gonna be like Bear Country is gonna be the AEW Tag Team Champions for 8 months straight and have any sort of meaningful.
I agree, but I think obviously pro wrestling's big enough, and we've experienced this through the 7 years almost of doing a podcast, that pro wrestling's big enough to where you have niches within this niche of pro wrestling, right? So you can have an offshoot, and it doesn't have to just stick in its little corner. It can bump into other aspects of pro wrestling, but you can have this little corner of pro wrestling where you have Jurassic Express, you have Bear Country, you have Chris Statlander, have Matt Hardy go all weird again, and you can put him over there in that little group of people.
Matt Hardy. I want him to be broke, and be broke Matt Hardy.
And you have Orange Cassidy. So you could do those fun things where Bear Country can have a best friends type of storyline, where I would argue Best Friends for a while was the most captivating team on Dynamite, and they never had the titles. So you could do things with Bear Country in that regard to where they're doing fun things. Where I just got nervous though about after this match was I thought the most fun they could have was with Jurassic Express. And well, we already did it. It feels a lot like right out of college, you get your dream job and you work it for a couple of years and then well, you work it a couple of years and then you move on to your next, career path. And then everyone says like, so what are you going to do now? And you're like, well, I don't know. I did
the thing.
I did the thing. I don't know what's next. Right. So, that's where I get a little bit nervous. And that's why I thought Bear Country should have got the win here, because then we can build on, all right, well, we did take care of our biggest rival Jurassic Express. Now, Best Friends, we're looking at you. And then they go after Best Friends. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. But after the win from Jurassic Express, we got the best promo out of QuikTrip Marshall and his fuckwads. I tell you what. Hey, by the way, QuikTrip Marshall, thanks for the plug. Thanks for the shout out on Twitter. Check it out on his profile page. This was great.
Yeah, man. QuickTime Marshall was amazing. I thought he was, I say amazing, I mean? Like an amazing turnaround from the previous weeks, right? Did QT Marshall, QuikTrip Marshall prove us wrong? Time will tell, but he's heading in the right direction to be proven us wrong. I thought what he called him, a bargain bin sting. He's like, this is my fucking factory.
Yeah.
Right? Like he went hard. It kind of was like, boo, a little QuikTrip Marshall. You have something really off your chest you were trying to?
Yes. And so I thought it was really done well. I thought there's a lot of good jabs at Cody that was original. Again, calling him the bargain bin sting or whatever that phrase exactly was. And again, great. Exceeded my expectations when he first appeared on the screen, because I thought it was going to be I'm no longer the friend, which he did hit on, but he also went a little bit deeper than that. However, and he was great, but Anthony Ogogo talking about he does Subway commercials for business and he beats up people for pleasure. Hey, we got a star with Anthony Ogogo, I think.
Well, and even to that, Quentin Tarantino Marshall was he was the one. He was like Nick Camarado, like he was pointing out. He's like, these guys aren't going to be swept under the rug anymore. Like these aren't the people that were. Even I said it last week. Like, what the fuck are these guys? Like, well, you about to find out, punk. So credit to them. They've got my interest changed a little bit. Right, I'm ready to see what they do next.
The only thing I would criticize them on, and I bet they recorded it before Monday Night Raw, so it's not necessarily anything bad. I think just after Raw aired, I would have edited this part out. But the throwing the paint on the Nightmare Family logo, after Miz and Morrison on Monday Night Raw do the finger paint on the Bugatti, when you throw paint on a wall, kind of.
Well, that might have reshot it to where you actually got the paint on the logo.
That's true. Yeah.
But you would have to clean, and who knows what kind of time
that's
so
true.
You got to go buy a new bucket of paint.
I think I just would have cut that. I think I would have just cut it with the
pulled it down. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But again, now you got paint on it, so now what are you gonna do? You're right.
I think I just would have said like, we're not taking any more shit or something like an exclamation point statement. But I was again very impressed. We'll see what it looks like going forward. Exceeded my expectations from
QuickTime Marshall.
From QTip Marshall.
QTip Marshall?
Yeah, QTip Marshall. But Anthony Ogogo, I was like, hey, I like this guy. And he's in action next week. We get to see him debut.
And he says, he's like, I'm a household name over. Don't mess around with me. You don't know me, but you're about to.
Yeah, you Yanks, you think I'm a nobody just because you don't know me, you fucking idiots. Over there, I'm the man, and I'm going to show you that I'm the man. And I got a left hook from hell, so about to catch this fucking 3-piece in the soda upside your head. After the commercial break, because of course that's what we did after the QuikTrip Marshall segment, we had Tony Schiavone introduce Sting. And again, Sting doesn't get a word in. Jake the Snake interrupts. I will give Jake the Snake credit to where he's like, you haven't caught on to what we do here. You get introduced. We interrupt you. I do like that at least they're acknowledging this is repetitive.
Yeah, except did Sting write into his contract that he's going to show up, they're going to do an idea, and they're going to do the same thing for 6 weeks before they do another idea? Was he like, no more fucking wishy-washy booking, goddammit. Solid idea. We're going to do it 6 times.
Yeah. We're going to ingrain into our audience's memory that I walk out here after Tony Schiavone.
And people will run away from me.
Yeah. And Tony Schiavone will say my name like a 6-year-old every single week. And they will know exactly who I am. It feels that way.
It's Sting.
Yeah.
All right.
I will say though, it was a bit of a curveball that Sting gave us. Hey, Lance Archer, I agree with you. What the fuck's going on? And he almost put the guilt back onto Jake the Snake, where he's like, Jake, get this guy ready. What in the almost like, how are you not capitalizing on this guy?
Quit gambling and smoking, whatever you got going on back there, and help this kid.
Yeah,
taking his money.
Yeah, glad you're sober, but let's DDP yoga and let's get this guy some main events, motherfucker. Where if that's the story we're going with, now Lance Archer has a fun story we can tell where he's stuck between 2 legends. Where does he go? Does he stay with what he knows, or does he take a chance and go babyface with Sting? Because we've seen him flirt with that before. That's a story I can get into.
He even had a promo on him on one of the Darks, right? Dark 1 and Dark 2. Cut a promo on him saying he was like, look, I respect you. It's because of you. But and now's now. And I gotta I gotta do this. I gotta do this.
That's the interesting story. That's the new wrinkle you can tell on Sting and AEW. It's not just Sting versus young talent or Sting teams with young talent that gets them exposure. It's the young talent now has to choose between the 2 legends, and people of a certain age, you and myself, we go, yeah, we grew up watching Jake the Snake Roberts and we grew up watching Sting. Who would we go for? And now we can put our own, feelings into this story instead of it just being Lance Archer versus Sting, and Lance Archer gets some exposure because he beat Sting,
Jake Roberts is probably going to have the cooler stories on the road, but you might have to drag him out of the hotel a couple times. Right? He's going to bring up problems.
Yeah. You're going to have to text at 2:00 in the morning. Hey, Jake, where you at? With Sting, your flight is booked and ready to go at 9 a.m. It's not going to be the most
waiting. He's going to pick you up.
Yeah.
He's going to be there waiting on you.
And there's not going to be a lot of fun talk on the car ride to the airport.
He's going to play Christian talk radio.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. Well, it's going to be a lot of self-help books on tape. You know what I mean? Where it's you can achieve, believe, and see your goals coming to fruition. It's oh, fucking Jesus. Where Jake's going to be like, hey, you need to move that Coke off the fucking seat, and then you can sit there.
Let me tell you about this time in Taiwan. You're like, no, please don't tell me that time. I've heard this time already 7 times.
You want to know? You want to know why Jim the Anvil Neidhart's left pec kind of sagged a little bit? Let me tell you, kid. It's oh, what the fuck are we talking about?
I do want to know this story now.
Right,
So
yeah,
can you finish this story?
No, I can't. Secrets, man.
I was told in confidence.
Yeah, I just can't go any farther. All right, so after the Sting essentially saying, Jake the Snake, get your boy some better spots on Dynamite, we did have Team Taz backstage, and Ricky Starks praises very condescendingly Brian Cage for getting the W last night, and then Taz says, hey, everyone, shut the fuck up. We have a big opportunity here. Don't shoot yourselves in the foot. Get fucking on the same page, assholes. I did like Powerhouse Hobbs even tried to interject himself a little 2 cents. What'd you think about the Team Taz segment?
So that may be the thing, right? Hobbs keeps trying to interject. Taz is finally shut the fuck up, trying to separate these 2. So when that split starts to actually happen and Ricky Starks is actually out, like Taz is looking for help from Powerhouse Hobbs. Powerhouse Hobbs just lays him out, and Ricky Stark's like, what the fuck? And he's like, I'm not helping you. I just fucked all this and fuck these guys, right? And then walks off, which would probably be a mistake. He's probably the one who needs somebody like a Taz the most out of all this right now. But, I mean, this is, I don't know if, I think Ricky Starks is probably breaking off of this, if not the whole group disbanding.
I would hope that the whole group disbands, but Taz keeps one of them. And I think the person that Taz needs to keep is Powerhouse Hobbs. You could do a storyline where Brian Cage can go be the babyface that he is. Maybe he loses in a, gang attack from Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs, the FTW championship. And that's how Powerhouse Hobbs gets the FTW championship. But then Brian Cage takes off as a babyface. Well, Ricky Starks goes like, I'm tired of carrying this group. He can be the heel. And then you could do Powerhouse Hobbs as the FTW babyface champion taking on Ricky Starks. And then once you want to say Taz is going to always be a bad guy, you could almost do like a Stockholm Syndrome angle with Powerhouse Hobbs where he's like, I know that this is a bad situation, but do you know all the great things he's done for me?
Well, but that could be great too, especially if like Hook is also one of the ones like mentally abusing him and fucking with him and like, manipulating him.
Oh, of course. You could definitely have Hook, catching Powerhouse Hobbs. Let's say he was supposed to be at a workout at noon and he's a little bit late. And Hook's like, hey, man, 45 minutes late. Would hate to tell my dad what happened there. A good $100 bill might keep me quiet.
I heard he likes to do 100 squats per every minute late. So that would be a lot of squats.
But then Hook is doing this whole thing where he's like, hey, if you got me a match on Dark, I might shut up. And then Powerhouse Hobbs is like, okay, just don't tell Taz. And then, we get a little bit of that angle going.
Yeah, because then you can pit Taz against Hook. Oh.
Yeah.
Hire us.
Fun stuff.
We're available.
Speaking of fun stuff. Yeah, desperately available. Please call us. Please give us $1. Anything.
Anything would help. Anything.
Speaking of some fun stuff, though, we got a TNT Championship match after this segment, and it was champion Darby Allin versus one of my favorites, JD Drake, who cut his teeth on Dark and Elevation, so credit to him for finally getting a Dynamite match, a championship match at that. This was fun. I like this match a lot. I thought JD Drake looked like $1 million in this. What did you think?
I liked it a lot. I like, again, this is where we're talking about they get so many people a spot, right? Like WWE is never putting a guy in JD Drake's stance in the company in this match at this point in the card. Even though we know Darby Allin's winning this and we'll probably not see JD Drake on Dynamite again for a while, like they still wouldn't just do it. They just wouldn't do it. And I like it. And I like, I don't know if, again, on one of the Darks, he's with this like Nemeth is trying to have wingmen, right? And he's like, and Benoni's like, what the fuck is up with this guy? And then JD Drake comes by and he's like, oh, what? He's like, what do you, because he's like, did you call me fat or something like that? And he's like trying to downplay that. And he's like, no, he's like, you're great. He's like, if you were just like, like a little thinner, tanner, you know what I mean? Like, taller, like just a little, just a few of these things. He's like, but everything's great. I need 2 wingmen, right? Like, because that's what he's like. So that could be fun. But as far as like this match and where it was going, like interesting, right? It makes you see JD Drake, especially if we've got nothing else really, like we're buying time to get Darby Allin in a serious match program or something. So yeah, I thought it was fine. It was good.
Well, and also credit to a guy like Darby Allin, who is the champion and obviously being pushed to the moon, being aligned with Sting, which Sting was in this match chasing off Nemeth and taking out Benoni. But credit to, if we're breaking kayfabe here, credit to Darby Allin to say, hey, JD Drake, obviously they know each other from their days in Evolve, but I'm going to let you have some offense, right? Like I'm the star here, but you're going to do the spot where you throw me into the ropes from the outside and give me that big ass clothesline, which is cool as shit. You're going to do some cool ass moves to me because I'm going to let you shine in this spot. That's one other thing that, you would never see traditionally speaking from a WWE type of segment where even though we know, whatever that talent is going to lose to the champion, typically we just see the champion, get 2 moves on them and then they take over and then they get their signature move and then we're done. In this match, it was 90% JD Drake and then Darby Allin hits a coffin spot essentially, and that's the match. So yeah, to your point, I don't think we're going to see JD Drake next week in a promo saying I want a rematch or anything. But you say that he's main eventing in an elevation or a dark, I'm into it because I saw him now on Dynamite and he gets, my attention when you announce him on other cards. So credit to them. I thought everyone looked better after the match. Then after Darby Allin wins, we get Butcher and the Blade coming out and they attack Darby Allin. And the Hardy family office, I guess is what we're calling them, comes out. Sting and the Dark Order chase him off, which was a little clunky, but whatever. But it leads right into Tay Conti attacking the Bunny. And now we get Tay Conti and the Bunny.
And that was fun. That whole kind of like melee and breakdown was good. The Hardy family office thing. Terrible name, but whatever. It's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
It was going to be a terrible group to begin with. So yes, I like the Bunny and Tay Conti breakout though of it, and that's kind of where the focus led to. I like that they did that.
Yeah, and so I actually have my notes here a little bit wrong. Tay Conti attacks the Bunny, but we don't get the match instantly. We first get a video package for the promo of the main event, because I believe, if my timing was correct here, we're starting to get to the top of the hour, and at the top of the hour is when you do your fun things. And speaking of that, after the commercial break, Marvez is interviewing Jericho. Jericho, again, just turning over a new leaf, complimenting Marvez. The entire year and a half, or again, I don't know exactly how long we've been doing Dynamite.
Everybody shits on Marvez.
Yeah, but this guy now, Jericho's like, hey, you look great. Again, doesn't get more than 3 sentences out, and the Pinnacle just beats his ass, drags him to the ring. They're beating him up. They're putting the boots to him. They set up a table to the outside. They're going to powerbomb him from the inside of the ring to the outside through a table. And guess who comes to make the save? Old man, Iron Man, or Iron.
Old Ironsides Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Mike Tyson comes out and he rips his shirt off and he takes, his ones
got it
and
this
two.
time.
Yeah, but he took his ones and twos and puts them upside Sean Spears' head. Credit to Sean Spears to be like, yeah, I'll do that spot because I fucking wouldn't. Not with Mike Tyson. He might get real with me.
Well, or just like he thinks he's pulling a punch, but he's a little off today because he's done whatever Mike Tyson does.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks he's pulling a punch, but doesn't realize what pulling a punch is to a normal human versus Mike Tyson, and still knocks you silly and concusses you, and now you're out for 3 months.
Yeah, this was good. I thought now, the last time we saw Mike Tyson, he had the stare down with Chris Jericho. Fast forward to last night. Now these two are...
Mike Tyson always with that swerve, right? With the
Hey.
DX, with the...
Yeah. Good point. He's staying consistent to his character. And it's
Don't
always
trust
a rip.
Mike Tyson.
Well, and it's always a rip of the shirt. That's what signifies the change of heart. WrestleMania 14 ripped off the DX shirt. He had this. Yeah. That's what he did last night.
What's really going on. Yeah.
I thought this was fine. I thought, again, if you're going to have Mike Tyson involved, this was a perfect spot because he doesn't have to do too much. Although he did throw some punches. Yeah, but he did throw some punches at Sean Spears. And again, credit to Sean
risky.
Spears for doing that spot. Then next week
some
is
smelling salts on hand.
Yeah, for sure. Then it was announced next week that we're going to get we're going to get Mike Tyson as the special enforcer for a match that involves the Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle, chapter 1, I guess you can call it. So we'll see what that looks like. And as you talked about earlier, the rankings, this is where I want your feedback. We go after that with Tyson ripping off his shirt and Tyson and Jericho shaking hands right into Shivani backstage interviewing Britt Baker. And Britt Baker's like, rankings are fucking dumb. I don't care about wins. I care that I'm selling the most merch. I am the highest rated.
That was the best. She said, she was like, rankings as if like wins and losses matter. She was like, they don't matter. She was like, what matters is like merchandise sale, like everything that like WWE is like. And I don't even think like, I mean, maybe that was a dig at them for that, but like, it was like who brings media, like who's clearly better, right? Like it was just like bullshit reasons. And it was so fun. Right. And then she was like, that like rankings matter, or like wins and losses. Let's go show what these matter. Yeah. Oh God, this promo was great. She's so good. She even also had promos on one of the darks that was really good. She's so good.
Now, she did say, all right, if you want me to get the wins, then you're about to see me get the wins on Dynamite, Dark, and Elevation. So, the DMD is here to fuck shit up. And that's great. But to your credit, or to your point, I don't think this was necessarily a dig just at WWE. If you look at the, picture of combat sports, that's all Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor hasn't fucking won a fight since, black and white television, and he's main eventing every card. Yeah. So it's not as if,
that was the thing that to WWE's credit, they were like, we could have John Cena lose 3 months in a row and put him in the WrestleMania main event, and he'd still draw more eyeballs.
Yeah. Than
any fucking thing else. So sorry, guys. You know what I mean?
Like, it's just the way the world works. Right. Yeah. I could tell you of so many fighters, if we're breaking kayfabe here, in the UFC that are on 7 or 8 fight win streaks that are never even sniffed a pay-per-view card. And then I can tell you about, again, a guy like Conor McGregor who's lost his last 2. And guess what? July 10th, he's going to be main eventing another pay-per-view. So it's just, to Britt Baker's point, fucking rankings don't matter, which kind of is difficult to say in AEW, because remember when they launched all these press releases about who they were, they really hammered home those rankings. And now we got one of their top talents saying, like, fuck that shit.
Well, and she's not wrong. Like, she's the best. And part of the best is because she has lost a couple of them matches that she's put out there.
Yeah.
So...
All right, so let's keep talking about the women's division here, because then we do get into the Bunny versus Tay Conti. Again, Matt Hardy butchering the blade in the corner of the Bunny. Tay Conti has -1 and the rest of Dark Order. The match ends with the Bunny taking the kendo stick from Shida, who was also ringside, smacking her upside the head, and then smacking Tay Conti upside the head. But then Shida helps Tay Conti, and Tay Conti gets the victory. I'm okay with it, but I think it's a little bit hard to say, like, number 1 contender and the champ are best friends like that.
Yeah, but we may get like a triple threat out of this.
That's true.
Like, she'll be like, I'm going to give you a title shot to Tay Conti, right? And then she's number 1, or is it? But it was her, right?
Yeah, Tay Conti's the number 1.
Like, you're number 1, you know what I mean? You prove that here, and then Bunny come out and be like, no, it's because of your interference and blah, 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 blah. And then, triple threat, which wouldn't be terrible.
That's a great idea. I think that your idea right there is the money match to make, because Tay Conti versus Shida is essentially fine.
Fine.
But if their friendship is tested, because let's say in a triple threat with the shitster Britt Baker, Britt's laying on her back and Tay Conti wants to get that 1, 2, 3, and then Shida has to pull her off of Britt Baker because, bitch, you ain't taking my title. Well, now we got a little friction.
Right.
And what happens there? And what happens with the Dark Order? Are they still team Tay Conti, or are they just team whoever's winning? Because what if they start to side with Shida?
Yeah. Or what if they were too busy to notice because they were chasing after Hangman Adam Page?
Yeah. Also, I know she's going to be out for some months, so depending on how slow we play out this storyline, what if then Anna Jay comes back and Tay Conti's the champ representing the Dark Order, but Anna Jay's like, bitch, this is my group. I know we're friends, but you ain't taking my friends.
Keep it 100, but I'm 99, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, keep it 100, but I'm 99 in this bitch. So yeah, I think we have some interesting stories if we just don't go with, hey, Tay Conti and Shida, friends in a friendly championship match, because that
tag team against these two, and then fight.
Yeah, I need a little bit more juice there, and I think your idea of the triple threat, that's where we get to the fun the quickest. Speaking again of the women's division, we got a recap of the feud between Red Velvet and Jade Cargill, which will be happening next week. I'm excited that this gets a payoff and we don't wait till May 5th. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, and this makes sense too. They didn't really ever resolve anything out of that match because there were 2 dudes involved. We couldn't always fight. Now this is the one-on-one between us. And I still think Jade Cargill goes over in that.
And I do too. I just think I'm happy that it's happening on Dynamite and we're not doing this weird, like, Red Velvet in action against the Bunny, and then Red Velvet looks strong, and then we get Jade Cargill versus, I I can't, the librarian girl that used to be Blue Pants, whatever her name is.
Yeah, what is her name?
That girl. It's Blue Pants, but I don't know her name in AEW. I forgot it. We don't fact check here. Fuck it. But I'm glad that
Blue Pants.
I know Blue Pants is what they should have went with. I don't know if that's trademarked by WWE, but Blue Pants is getting over.
They could have just changed it. It could have been,
Pink
Yellow
Pants. Yeah, whatever it wants to be. Yeah. But again, I'm happy that they're just getting right to it. We're not doing this slow play into a pay-per-view. Nah, fuck that. You want some ratings? You want a good fight? Next week, these two women gonna punch each other in the mouth. I'm here for it. Now let's get into the main event, a trios match. Jon Moxley and the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks, taking on AEW World Heavyweight Champion Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers with Don Callis. This was okay. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it was okay.
Let's just get to the finish, right?
Yeah.
Good action all throughout, as, of course, all 6 guys are exceptional pro wrestlers. I don't think we've ever said that they're not. We just may not like 2 of their characters, and we'll get to that in a second. The finish, though, was Matt Jackson couldn't do the knee thing to the face of Kenny Omega, the BTE trigger, I think they call it. I don't know, whatever. No fact checks here. But he can't do it. And so Jon Moxley's like, you fucking puss. I'll get out of here. And he just hits paradigm shifts. And I love after, I believe it was the second one, he shoulder checks or chest checks Nick Jackson and was like, this is how you fucking do it. Like, take out this guy.
Yeah. So again, the plot hole comes in here. We said this already last week with Cody Rhodes and QuikTrip Marshall, that you've wrestled friends before and you didn't hesitate to kick him in the face. You guys are wrestlers. Like,
even in this promotion last year at Revolution, when it was Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page taking on the Young Bucks, the Young Bucks did this move to him.
And Cody just did this. So, like, guys, we've got to spread this out. Mm-hmm. And again, I, the American TNT watcher, know you guys have a history. Know there was a thing called the Bullet Club. Know there was like a Japan time where you guys were stars. But that's kind of it. I don't know what the story was. I didn't follow it. So you... oh my God, I can't hit my friend is missed on me because I don't have the backstory of like the friendship, the depth, the deepness. Why would you, like, I can't get Kenny Omega in the face even though I've already wrestled 5 minutes of a match against him. It just doesn't make sense. It's done.
Yeah. I think they've done a little bit of that storytelling when Kenny Omega the previous week said, hey, I didn't choose AEW. I chose you guys and you guys didn't choose me. That makes sense from Kenny Omega's part. And he's maybe playing on the heartstrings of the Young Bucks, which fast forward to this match, maybe that's why they can't do it. But to your point, you wrestled for 7 or 10 minutes, whatever it was, kicking him and punching him. So you can't do this fucking move. Yeah. And again, Cody did this last week with QuikTrip Marshall. Yeah. So,
and remind you, this move, we've seen it a million times, doesn't like end people's careers. They can wrestle next week. You don't even finish every match with it. So, like, people get up from it. So it's not like you're just not slapping them in the face is the only thing you're not doing. And Tom, I'd slap you in the face for a laugh, let alone to try to win a match.
Yeah, if money's on the line, I'm punching my mom right in the face. I don't give a shit of who it is on that other side. Because again, to your point, and that's actually a great point, this isn't the concerto, right? When Edge and Christian used to do the concerto, that was oh shit, this person's going to be out for some months. Or Randy Orton's punt, when he punted Vince McMahon and some other people. That's a move where you go, oh fuck. The person on the receiving end of this move is not going to be here for a while.
Yeah, this isn't the mid-rope DDT.
Yeah.
It's
a finisher, air quotes. But again, we see people kick out of it, so it's not the most devastating move in pro wrestling. But as we were talking about, Jon Moxley gets pissed and is like, get the fuck out of the ring, you little babies. I'll take care of this. I hate this fucking guy. Remember, he tried to kill me in an explosion match. So you fuckers. And so he's bop, 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 bop. And then he goes to do it again. And this is when the Young Bucks, I think mistimed it.
Mistimed
one of
it?
them kicked. One of them kicked him. Then the other one kicked him.
They were supposed to double kick. One kicked first and kind of missed, and then the second one hit.
Yeah.
And Moxley sold it well, but
yeah, he did well. He did well on his part. And again, there's no take twos in wrestling, so But again, if you're supposed to be the
what
fucking
happened
shit,
is Young Buck 2 forgot that they were supposed to take a dramatic pause where they looked at each other first and then kicked. And so he kicked, and Young Buck 1 was like, God damn it, now I got to here. And then fucking kicked him 2, and luckily Moxley knew what was up.
Yeah. And so then after that, the Good Brothers.
You always wait for the dramatic pause. Tom, you always wait for the dramatic pause.
Of course you do.
Amateur.
That, Tim, is what you do.
God damn,
so the
good.
Good Brothers
So good.
then drape Kenny Omega over Jon Moxley. They get the 1, 2, 3, but we're not done here. Then the Good Brothers are like, let's fuck up Jon Moxley more. And the greatest pro wrestler on earth right now, Eddie Kingston, walks out and is like, hey, don't fuck up my friend. And he runs out hobbling because he has a broken ankle. Good Brothers take care of him. And then the Young Bucks, they start really kicking Jon Moxley. And what we get at the very end of the episode is a group hug. They don't do the hand signals. Dark-haired Young Buck says, let's do a hug. And they all hug to finish
like
the episode.
Still kind of did this thing where they're like, we kind of don't want to be doing this, but we're doing it. And it's like, are you guys the accessory to murder who, like, it wasn't your idea to kill the guy, but now you're helping bury the body and you're trying to act like, well, I didn't want to do it. Tough shit. You did it. So now what happens?
Yeah, I think after the hug, which we saw on air, they need to stop the, what do we do? It's our friend. Of course we're going to help our friend. It's the...
Yeah, don't have one foot in, one foot out.
Well, because you did the hug. Now
Right.
that we did the hug, the curtain call hug, you got to put your middle fingers up and say, fuck this promotion, fuck
Young
this
Bucks.
company. Yeah. And again, as we talked about it at the start of this episode, once we established that Jon Moxley's been maybe, flushed out of this storyline, we got to establish those elite guys as the big villainous heels taking over the company that they own. And that's when that Dark Knight on a fucking white horse comes galloping in and says, you motherfuckers, I knew it the whole entire time. I'm beating someone's ass. And then you get Hangman Adam Page and he decimates the entire elite. Start with the Good Brothers, get them, kick them out of the company, have them tucking their tail behind their legs and sending them back to Impact. Then the Young Bucks, guess what? I got my friend Eddie Kingston. We're going to fuck you guys up. Boom. Now you guys are out. And then Kenny Omega, you dirty bastard. I'm going to stick my 5 fingers upside your face. Oh, I can't wait.
Buckshot Lariat coming for that ass.
Oh, can you picture the mayhem? I think we talked about this earlier when we were just talking about what we're going to do tonight. I just have this picture in my head that I'm just so excited for. Whatever the pay-per-view is, Double or Nothing, whatever, the Revolution, whatever the pay-per-view is that we're going to do this.
Sin.
You have, yeah, sure, Sin. Yeah, let's do 2000 Sin. We have pandemonium everywhere. We have the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks fighting the Dark Order. We have Colt Cabana, punching Carl Anderson in the face. We got Guns and Poses jumping on the big guy, and he's giving him like a rear naked choke while Negative One's kicking him in the shin.
Yeah.
Negative
One's kicking him in the shin. He's got, Guns and Poses on his back.
Yeah, just trying to like punch him in the ear.
The head punch, yep.
Yeah, and you got that, and then you got more pandemonium just all across it, and then out of all that craziness comes the buckshot lariat right on a turning Kenny Omega, and he just eats it. And then we get the 1, 2, 3. Oh, and then here's the cherry on the top for me. If we're still doing it at Daly's place, let's assume it's Daly's place, right? You then take out the trash of Kenny Omega and you put his unconscious body over the horse, and then you smack the horse on the ass, and the horse gallops out with Kenny Omega on him, and we don't see Kenny Omega for 3 months or however long it is.
You forgot the most important aspect.
What's that?
Right after that buckshot lariat, right before the pin, the dramatic pause.
That's it, Tim.
Right?
God. Tim,
Mm-hmm.
as I typically do now on all of these Spanish Announce Table reboots 16.8,
Mm-hmm.
I give a chef's kiss. Typically it's for AEW. However, Tim, this week's chef's kiss is for you. The dramatic pause.
I feel so honored. I do.
So that was AEW Dynamite. What did you think? Kind of a high-level view, recapping the episode. They were going up against Stand and Deliver Night 1, so how do you think they did?
Really good. I thought they did really good given that they're in this transition period of like, we got to tell some new stories, and they're starting those without beating us over the head with it. We've got some existing stories that are heating up, be it like the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle. I'm excited. I thought this was an A show.
I thought it was really done well. Also giving consideration to WrestleMania week, where you don't want to say, here's our best shot, when you have some of the WWE diehards that said, like, I love AEW, but it's Stand and Deliver Night 1. So my eyes are going to be glued there for this week. And so AEW, hopefully knowing that, says, okay, well, then we're not just going to push all of our chips in and say, this is who we are. Let's hold some things back. And when this WrestleMania week dies down, then we'll revamp, some Cody comes back and beats up QuikTrip Marshall or whatever those moments are when more people are going to be viewing us because WrestleMania week is over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I guess we can just move on then, huh?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, we are currently filming / recording this episode during Stand and Deliver Night 2. So we can't give you that recap, but we will share our thoughts next week. However, Night 1 was last night, and we won't give a full recap because, again, we'll kind of compile it all as one thought next week. But Stand and Deliver Night 1, what was your big moment for you?
Man, that Walter match. Some intenseness, right? And the main event between Gonzalez and Io Shirai was fun too. But man, this one sticks out as like, whew, these guys are really going at it. I think I sent you a message that Ciampa looks like he's training to be on that Vince McMahon pinup calendar.
Oh man, he is juiced to the gills. Whether that's WWE diet or natural, I don't know, but man, he looks better than ever. And what in the name of Lou Thez was that finish? Oh. It ended on a clothesline, which was impactful. I'm not saying like, it was a shitty roll-up. It was a clothesline from hell. JBL should have thanked Walter during his Hall of Fame speech for how great the fucking chops are coming from Walter. I know it's not a clothesline, but it's a fucking chop from Jesus Christ. And
chop from Jesus Christ. Show title if I ever heard one.
And it ended the night for Ciampa. I just thought the finish was awesome because more of that needs to happen. We don't always need signature move, finisher, 1, 2, 3. It can be a chop if you're known for a chop.
Jesus Christ. That's going to be somebody's fucking finisher title.
Oh,
if
he starts
it's the chop from Jesus Christ. It's going to be a preacher gimmick.
Oh, if he gets, get Devon back on camera and start doing that. And
it's Big E and his preacher gimmick that they've tried to run forever, right? And he has the chop from Jesus Christ, and he just chops somebody, and they just, like full Southern Baptist, like just go, right.
Oh, have them start speaking in tongues.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the
chop.
That's what it do.
Christ. Hire us. I don't understand why nobody wants to hire us.
Oh my God. But yeah, Night 1 was great. Yeah, the main event was awesome, but I agree with you. That Walter Ciampa match, that was the home run.
That main event, though, is interesting because I didn't think they were going to give Raquel Gonzalez the title. That's an interesting, if I would have thought somebody was going to take this finally from Io Shirai, I would have thought it would have been somebody I didn't think they were building somebody like new to that spot, I guess. It's interesting.
I think it was interesting to do it with their first encounter. I thought maybe Io gets the victory. All right. Raquel Gonzalez is on a warpath. She gets victories over a couple other people. And then at the next pay-per-view, she says, I'm coming for you. Yeah. And then it's the rematch between Io and Raquel. And that's
so the Dakota Kai aspect of this becomes a much cooler story now. Like, is she going to be jealous? How does she handle this? Yeah.
Well, and that's what we've been talking about on the podcast for a couple weeks here is Io Shirai, the night of a pay-per-view, is going to deliver a 10 out of 10 match. And I'm never going to dispute that fact. However, the weeks leading up to that pay-per-view, is not must-see TV. So if you give me a storyline where Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez are frenemies kind of thing, keep your friends closer, but your friends close, but your enemies closer kind of thing, that's something that I'm going to want to watch. So again, Io Shirai, home run. Love her when she does her in-ring action, but a more compelling story is Dakota Kai and her relationship with Raquel Gonzalez, who is now the champion. So I do like that, but I agree with you. I thought we would have had more of a culmination, a rematch, or Stand and Deliver is a big time moment. I'm not saying it's not, but a more, oh my God, a clash of two titans going after it. That's what I would have thought.
Yeah.
But another thing I wanted to say though, with Walter, and I told you this before we started recording, I'm always a fan, and I think you would agree with me here, that we are fans that want a story, right? Stories are what we're watching. We're not necessarily watching matches. However, Walter, for me, is a guy that I don't even need a story anymore. If you just tell me Walter's in action, I'm tuning in because every match is so fucking great.
Well, you always have a built-in David Goliath story with almost everybody, right? There's going to be a few exceptions. There's going to be a Braun Strowman if he ever gets in it, like a Big E maybe, but even Big E is probably shorter, right? So yes, and he knows how to do that very well and very believably. I can't think of a person I know in my life that could go up to Walter and move him off of the spot he's on if he didn't want to be moved, right? So very, very good at that for sure. And I haven't seen a match yet where I'm like, this is boring, even though it's largely similar, like I've said here.
And then I think that's the next evolution of Walter is, to your point, what does it look like when he faces Braun Strowman? What does it look like down the road? And I'm saying 6 months to a year.
The Great Khali.
Well, you know what I was thinking of? Well, no. I'm thinking of Amos. What does Amos versus Walter look like? Let's say Amos gets some matches
in.
The
Great Khali is the special enforcer.
Oh, Christ. No.
And then we can add Daniel Bryan to the match?
Well, now you got me tuned in.
Yeah, right.
If you get Daniel Bryan in there, I'm in. And speaking of Daniel Bryan, let's get right into our WrestleMania predictions. So
WrestleMania predictions. We've been doing this this is the 400th episode, as we've talked about on this feed. It's the 327th episode of the Spanish Announce Table proper, but every year we do a WrestleMania predictions and a preview, and we're going to cover them. I'm going to read them right now off of WWE.com. So this is the card Thursday night. Should be mostly finalized. Card subject to change, of course, so don't hate us. And I'm going to read right from their website, from the bottom, so I don't know in order or nothing. Naomi and Lana versus Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke versus the Riott Squad versus Natalya and Tamina. Tag team turmoil. Tom, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are winning this match. Tell me why.
They're not.
Ooh.
Because again, you have the winner of this match going into night 2 taking on the tag team champs. And the most compelling story with Nia Jax is Lana. So you get Lana and Naomi.
Nope.
Getting the victory.
Nope.
And then, no, because you know why? You got to get the ultimate payoff. Nia Jax is putting Lana through a goddamn table at WrestleMania.
Oh, geez. No, nope, because I think they're high on this Mandy Rose Dana Brooke team. I've seen so many side interviews with them and focus on them that's all for a reason. They're going to plug them. They're going to be champs. I
tell you what, in Chris Jericho's promo, he talked about how good FTR was, but he doesn't know who's who. I'm not saying that Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are as good as FTR because they're not, but sometimes I don't know who's who when they're wrestling.
Yo, I forgot about that line from Chris Jericho's promo, but that was fucking great.
Yeah.
Which is even better because it's true and they don't look anything alike. So it's not like they... That would be one thing if they were near twins or something. Like
Mandy
if they were the
Rose
Seidel
and Dana
brothers.
Brooke. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're kind of like, I don't know which one is which. But no, these guys look nothing alike, and I still don't know which one is which when it happens. Anyway. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and we're going to have this Logan Paul involvement somehow, right? So what...
Hey, I will say this. We have talked about it last week that this storyline feels rushed. However, when you watch the promo video for Sami Zayn's new documentary, it gets you invested.
When I got it here, Kevin Owens wins this because Logan Paul helps, and this is going to further that Sami Zayn down the rabbit hole conspiracy theory because it's not done. I mean, there's no payoff at Mania for this, so it has to continue. So he's got to lose, and what better way than the guy he thought was there to help keep an eye on things for him?
Okay, so then does Jebediah Paul rip off a T-shirt? He comes out there in a Sami Zayn T-shirt, and then, Ezekiel Paul says, hey, it's Kevin Owens' WrestleMania 5 T-shirt underneath. Is that what we're getting from Jeff?
Well, we're going to
get
Kevin Owens and Paul standing there holding hands up, pointing to the sign.
God, they are going to point to the sign.
They're going to point to the sign and get all those USA Today and Sports Illustrated shots.
I even told you this in a direct message, I believe, but if you would have taken this storyline serious, that Sami Zayn believes there is a conspiracy and there's one person behind it, that could be a main event, not on WrestleMania. I'm not saying you main event WrestleMania with that, but whatever the next pay-per-view is after this.
Right.
You could.
If there was a conspiracy against him, if you did it right. Yes.
Yeah, instead of just saying like, oh, this goofball. Hey, guys, it's goofball Sami Zayn.
This led up to The Rock being against, again, fill in the blank. I understand it may not be in WWE's eyes Sami Zayn to be this guy, but ex-wrestler thinks there's a conspiracy against him. They thought it was Cena. They thought it was whatever, like Randy Orton, like the whole time. And then we come to find out, oh, it is a conspiracy against you,
Yeah, I think if they would have taken this serious, it would have been a much more interesting story. But with that being said, I agree with you. Kevin Owens going to get the victory to further the Sami storyline, and then Jebediah Paul will be pointing at the WrestleMania sign.
Peter Paul. Intercontinental Championship match: Big E versus Apollo Crews in a Nigerian drum fight. Nigerian drum fight, which I don't even know what the fuck that is.
Yeah,
Peacock won't have blackface on it, but they're going to have this. And to be clear, the blackface one, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it, right? Pull it, whatever. I understand. But this, like, we're going to go live with this.
Well, if we want to start talking about Peacock and their censorship, it makes no fucking sense because we're going to start pulling things that we say don't meet our standards. But hey, everyone watch this John Wayne Gacy murder documentary. He fucking murders people, guys. Yeah. Check that out. Right. It was real.
Yeah, all those fucking CSI shows show literal blood and guts on all of them all the time.
Yeah. But with this, I've got Apollo Crews. I don't think he's going to lose his own gimmick match at WrestleMania. If this was SummerSlam or any lesser pay-per-view, maybe, but I don't think at WrestleMania he loses his own gimmick match.
No. Oh, you think? Oh, so you said
I got Apollo Crews.
Yeah, because it's this gimmick match, it's Mania, and then it continued the storyline, which probably isn't over. Yeah, I'm going to go with you there, other than it all, without having looked over the card and determined, like, if we were doing this for points, they do, I think it's point out, like, they'll look at it and go, like they would make that call and then look at it and be like, oh, crap, we have 7 heels winning. Yeah. Switch up. Big E, you're winning. And then they go, fuck. Right? Like 15 minutes into it before the match or something. So that could happen. But I think the storyline way to go here is Apollo Crews wins this Nigerian drum fight. Puts him through a big drum. Pins him on one.
Yeah.
And that's a stipulation match.
Is it like a lumberjack match where guys are just playing the drums the entire time?
That would be annoying. Cesaro versus Seth Rollins, which will be an amazing match. These guys will leave it all out there. And the story, I mean, they did the best they could to kind of, it fits. Seth Rollins is going to show up in the suit of the night.
Oh, my God. His fashion right now is the most interesting thing about him. I love this stuff. Yeah. It's so silly.
It is. But I think Cesaro wins. I think Seth Rollins is going to pull it what he can, and I think they're trying to push Cesaro, so I think Cesaro wins.
Yeah, I think Seth Rollins is solidified for life until maybe he goes on a huge losing streak. Then maybe something might happen. But Seth Rollins is always going to be Seth Rollins. So I think if we break kayfabe here for a second, they're really good friends. I think Seth Rollins wants to do this for Cesaro. I also think, as I talked about a few weeks back, I don't know necessarily that WWE knew that Seth Rollins would be ready for Mania. So this feels like oh shit, you're back? Cool. Let's just throw you in there and we'll have a fun match. And that's what this is. So then that's why I think Cesaro will win. I do predict, though, again, we're not doing points here, but I do predict maybe the longest swing of all time. I think we're breaking records here. I wouldn't be shocked if it's a minute and a half, 2 minutes of a just straight swing, because they're going to go all out on that.
Yeah, they probably will practice that. All right, United States Championship, Riddle versus Sheamus. I feel like Riddle's supposed to win this, but he did flub his lines recently. He's a little wishy-washy, so I could always see them being like, nah, Sheamus is taking this. But I'm going to say Riddle wins.
I got Sheamus, and I got Sheamus because, again, breaking kayfabe, I think they're going to say, Sheamus, good God, your matches with Lashley, your matches with McIntyre are just off the charts. You deserve some type of moment at WrestleMania. So here you go. It's not the main event, but it's something. Hope you're happy. And that's where Riddle will, get fucked up and lose the match. And Sheamus is now the terror of the United States or whatever he wants to do there. Yeah, I don't fucking care. This is my point too. WrestleMania is 2 nights. Fuck that. It's stupid. WrestleMania should be the reward for the best stories and best talent. Mandy Rhodes and all of that stuff. Hey, you guys are fine.
Yeah, we don't
Good
need
luck
a U.S.
next
title
year.
match just to have one. We don't need the
don't
Sheamus
need
Riddle.
this stuff.
The story didn't exist, doesn't exist, won't exist.
And we don't need it. We don't. What? Let's take a pause here real quick because I do want your input on this. What do you think of a 2-night WrestleMania?
I think it's dumb.
I hate it. This is why.
2-night anything.
Yeah. And I hate it for this reason. If I were going, right, we plan on going eventually, whenever that is. If my goal is to see Seth Rollins, right? Well, you know that WrestleMania sells out before the damn card is announced. So if I just hope that I buy night 1 because I want to see Seth Rollins, and then the week that I travel down to whatever city it's in, and I find out Seth Rollins is on night 2,
yeah,
I would be pissed off.
And the whole thing is, I don't need 2 nights of Mania. It's too much. You have NXT, you have the Hall of Fame, you have all the Mania access stuff. If you want more wrestling, you've got groups that you're putting on your network. I don't know if that's still a deal with Peacock, but like you could have shows running of, you know what I mean? Dark matches, not dark, dark,
yeah.
but dark, Not the dark, but the dark. God damn it, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's too much. I understand why they did it last year because they were like, fuck, we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. I totally, not forgive, but I totally understand.
I hope this isn't a new trend.
Yeah.
I hope it's not 2 years every night. Or every
last year, I 100% was like, yep, this totally makes sense, especially because you're doing some cinematic matches and things of that nature. So 100% down with the 2 nights.
And it was like, okay, we understand you guys can't come here. It's a big deal, so we'll make it longer.
Yeah.
More matches, more fun. We'll try to fit it all in for you guys. And we're like, okay.
Yeah, and that was totally cool. I applauded them for the detour that they took, but let's not make this 2 nights because to the fans' perspective, WrestleMania sells out before the card is announced, and if you're wanting to see the return of Becky Lynch, you don't have enough money to buy 2 nights of WrestleMania tickets.
That's it. Like, again, you're asking me now to dedicate so much of my life to you guys. And I know people will be like, well, you don't have to watch. Okay, that's great if I'm pulling the entire plug on watching any of their product. But if I want to watch some of it, I'm not going to, like, selectively in and out watch part of Mania. Like, come on. Like, that's not a thing, right? Like, you're watching the product or you're not. And telling me that, like, just because, like, it's reached over a tipping point that it's too long that I should just not watch any of it is not real, right? Like, we're not doing that. So fucking come on here.
And for this year specifically, you don't really have the luxury of saying, like, I'll skip this, because you can't skip anything, because if you miss it when it starts, you can't go back and you just dive into whatever part you've tuned into. So that also sucks. But anyhow, let's get back into the card. I just wanted your opinion on that 2 nights.
Well, this will turn things around. Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon in a steel cage match.
Why? 2 things here. Why do we feel the need to always have Shane McMahon do something stupid at WrestleMania? And why is it every year Braun Strowman has to be the special attraction Andre the Giant type moment where he wins the tag champions with a 6-year-old, or he does the Andre the Giant battle, whatever. The Royal...
So many things. It plays into what you said. This should be a reward for the best performances and the best storylines all year long. And another thing I'm going to talk about is, like, I get that, like, it may not be that, like, any one part of the card is the thing that we think is going to bring everybody to the card. It's that when we put this gigantic card together, everybody goes, look at this card. And so therefore we put as much as we can on the card. But, like, Braun Strowman did nothing all year.
All right.
Do you think anybody pulled the trigger to finally buy the Peacock or watch WrestleMania because finally they put Braun Strowman in a match? What about that same question about Shane McMahon?
No, I think people are canceling.
Like, exactly. So why the fuck? Why the fuck are we going to stretch this to a 2-night? That's the thing, is you're jam-packing 4 hours worth of the best storylines in wrestling in the world into 12 fucking hours. You know what I mean? Like, you're just fucking diluting it so much for no reason.
I agree. Yeah, and with this match, I don't care.
Strowman wins.
Yeah, sure. Not us.
All right, you ready for this one?
Let's go.
It's Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus The Miz and John Morrison. And this, again, Damian Priest shows up 3 days before Mania, and he's like, here? All this tells me is Bad Bunny ain't doing so well in the pre-match training, right? So they're like, fuck, we got to pull an audible here. And so I don't feel like this is going to be worth a shit at all.
Well,
but Bad Bunny and Damian Priest win.
Yeah, of course. But you know why we're doing this one, because look at, again, what Britt Baker was talking about. Doesn't care about rankings and wins, cares about merchandise sales and views, and Bad Bunny gets all of those. So I get it. I'm not saying you only make the best stories. I'm saying you should, but I do get the exception of Bad Bunny brings in the most people. Okay. Hey,
right. Well,
you put it there.
If we're going to focus on long-term storytelling, then let's talk about the Raw Women's Championship match, Asuka versus Rhea Ripley.
Oh, that was a good one. That got me. I was like, all right, what's the story we're telling
what's the story we're telling here? Mm-hmm. What is the story we're telling here? Asuka wins?
I don't give a shit.
I bet Rhea Ripley wins, huh?
Yeah. Rhea Ripley. It's the big splash. Look, they had Asuka ruin her win streak to Charlotte, so they don't necessarily give a shit really about the feelings of Asuka. So yeah, Rhea Ripley gets the, hey, I'm the new shiny toy in the women's division. Look at this.
They just handed Asuka a belt. Remember when Becky Lynch got...
Mm-hmm. Well, that made sense because Becky was like, hey, I'm pregnant. And
like, you want to turn me? Here you go. Yeah. All right, The Fiend versus Randy Orton.
What are we doing here? What do you think? What are we doing?
Clue.
Are we doing a Firefly Funhouse match? Or are we doing you think we're doing a match?
No, they'll probably do a cinematic match, huh?
I don't fucking know.
Are we doing a Bugs on the Ring match?
God, I hope not.
That was them.
Yeah.
That was those two guys. Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, no. They did the In Your House match. Was it the same match, the Bugs on the... No, that was different.
Two different matches. That was WrestleMania. Yeah. They did the WrestleMania match with the Bugs on the Ring. And then they did another match with the house in St. Louis where they fought all around there and looked at like out-of-date refrigerators and shit.
Yeah, it's like they literally like went and paid somebody to like, hey, can we fuck up your house? We'll give you like $10,000. People are like, hey, fuck it.
Yeah. I was going to sell it for 10 or I was going to sell it for 5. So I guess I'll take 10. Yeah.
The guy's like, oh, I just evicted somebody out of here anyway. Yeah, fuck it. Let's go for it.
I think they may do a hybrid, honestly. I think they want to do a Bray Wyatt kind of entrance.
Crowds now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I think we get the Bray Wyatt does the spooky stuff and everyone goes like, oh, that's so fun. Look at him, but they may fight to the back and then we go into the Firefly Funhouse and now we get our Firefly Funhouse match. I don't know, but
The Fiend wins.
Yeah, I think so. I think Alexa Bliss may help.
Unless Randy Orton wins because Alexa Bliss helps.
Oh, that would be more interesting than they're capable of.
That's what you do at a Mania, though, because then you go catch more on Raw, but they don't do that. Raw Tag Team Championships: The New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. Styles and Omos are winning this.
Yeah, I want to go back real quick. When you had mentioned that Alexa Bliss may help Randy Orton, the last time I can honestly think of a female talent helping out someone at Mania was WrestleMania 20, I think it was, when Trish Stratus turned on Christian and then sided with Chris Jericho. That was 17 years ago.
Yeah. It was a bit.
Jesus Christ. And
So
everyone's
here, yeah.
still, yeah.
What?
I said, and everyone's still active.
Everyone's
Good God.
That's true. All right, so here we got AJ Styles and Omos, New Day, Tag Team Championships. I think Styles and Omos are going to win this.
Oh, yeah. This is made for, as much as we're predicting internally that Shane McMahon's going to jump off of something crazy with Braun Strowman throwing him off of whatever, I think also this is made for Omos to grab Kofi Kingston and throw him into the 10th row or whatever it is. So that's what this whole match is made for.
SmackDown Women's Championship, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair. I think Sasha Banks wins. I think they give her a Mania moment. She wins a pay-per-view with a title, you know what I mean, and holds it high.
I got, oh man, if we were doing predictions, this is what I would honestly say. This is what my gut says. I think we're going to get a WrestleMania moment where we're going to get a new submission from Britt Baker, from Bianca Belair, and we're going to get Bianca Belair takes her fucking hair and chokes out Sasha Banks.
I got the answer.
Was it?
Here's what happens. Bianca Belair wins because of interference from somebody not on the card.
Oh,
about
Bailey.
Oh,
that would be fun.
And then on the main stage of Mania, you cost you the title. And then Bianca Belair's, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Walking
That
away,
would be
and
fun.
Sasha's like, and the Mega Power still, and they're ever exploding.
Yeah, that would be fun. That's interesting to think of. Think of this. We say how this women's evolution or revolution.
Great year. It's not a Mania.
Well, think of the four of them. Charlotte's not on there. Becky's not on there for real reasons. Bailey's not on there. It's only Sasha Banks. That's pretty fascinating. But yeah, I got Bianca Belair.
All right, the WWE Championship, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre. The more I think about it, I think you're right. This is where Hogan must pose. Drew McIntyre wins, even though Bobby Lashley should win this.
I'm actually, the more I've thought about this going into tonight's podcast, I thought about your scenario where, well, we weren't the Hurt Business, so we weren't banned. I could even see them acting, right, in kayfabe, acting like they're not trying to help Lashley. Right. They end up helping out Lashley, and then post-match they go, we're all friends.
They go, hey, you're welcome back into the Hurt Business, right? And that's where, like, even Baron Corbin's like, cool, and I think they beat him up. Like, that would be the coolest, but they're not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Drew must pose. He's gonna have a sword pointing up to the sign.
So, okay. If we don't know the order, right? We obviously don't know the order.
Right.
We know night 1, night 2 and stuff like that, but we don't know the order. If this kicks off the show, Drew McIntyre wins. If this is just in the show, let's just say it's before Orton versus The Fiend, Lashley wins. I'm going to go McIntyre. Yeah, I agree with you. Hogan must pose. McIntyre must pose. Where's my big fucking sword? I'm going to swing that shit around. Woo, like this.
All right, and then the final one we got. Universal Championship, Roman Reigns, Edge, Daniel Bryan, triple threat, Roman Reigns.
You think?
Yeah.
Ooh.
You think Edge, or what do you think?
I think Edge. I think we got the rated R superstar. I think we did a little bit too much of you got to have grit, and no one gave a fuck about what that even meant or what even you fucking were saying.
Got to outwork everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Grit and outwork everyone. Pass. That's boring ass shit.
Yeah.
So then Edge says, "Okay, let's take a left turn. You don't like that? Let's go back to something you do like. Rated R superstar." And then you got
Live
the rated
sex
R
celebrations.
Yeah, then you get rated R superstar taking over SmackDown. That we can get into. Then you can go into psychotic Roman Reigns, head of the table. Why am I not head of the table? Jey Uso, what the fuck? Jimmy comes back. Jimmy, what the fuck? And we get into psychotic Roman Reigns, who's just unhinged because he's not the champ anymore. 2 stories we can tell. But Daniel Bryan takes the loss.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Mania, final thoughts. Let's wrap it up.
What's the match you're most looking forward to? I put all of those on the table. Which one are you grabbing to say, like, I want to watch that one?
I don't. I think Owens and Zayn are going to do a great match.
Wait a minute. Did you say I don't pick something? I don't. I don't take it.
Don't. I think this Roman Reigns Edge Daniel Bryan is probably going to be the most intriguing with total of like in-ring work and storyline and where we go from here, like perspective all rolled into one. They probably get the most points, if you will.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm. Yeah. If you take everything into consideration, that's the match where I'm like, I'm not missing that. I think though, next week on the podcast, I think what we're going to talk about, whether good or bad, is going to be Fiend Randy Orton. They're either going to hit another home run like they did with Cena. Yeah, it's either going to be Cena, Fiend, Firefly Funhouse, which was incredible, or again, it's going to be Orton, Fiend, Bugs on the ring. What the fuck is this? It's not going to be in between. It has to be one or the other. So I think we're going to talk about that next week. That's what we're going to lead talking about WrestleMania.
Well, another thing that happens with WrestleMania week, albeit it kind of didn't happen last year, so they rolled it into this year, is the WWE Hall of Fame. And some interesting choices this year. A very interesting choice to pipe in crowd noise instead of just having like employees and friends and family. That was annoying because, like, I think even though, like, okay, so the fake crowd noise and they say something good and you cheer, but like there was some subtle things that like I think they missed that were very impactful moments of speeches, especially in the Titus speech, some that stick out to mind, where like you didn't catch that what he said was a very amazing fucking thing, and like people would have clapped and people would have cheered or people might have stood, right? Like several of those moments for a lot of people, not just Titus' speech. So that was kind of annoying. What are your overall thoughts before we talk about any some of these inductions?
Awkward. Yeah, awkward, 100%. And here's why. First, yeah, we have had small crowds now in America, right? That is a thing now we have seen.
Yes.
In AEW, we have seen your own talent in the crowd.
And you're going to do it at Mania. You have a crowd.
But to my point here is we've seen AEW have their own talent in the crowd for matches. So we know you can safely put in your own talent in a crowd.
They're there. They're backstage in a smaller space right now.
Right. So if you're going to do the red carpet that I saw where Sasha's walking out and Bailey and Rob Van Dam is walking to his space.
That was a loop crowd cheer too that was like not even synced to good moments. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you're going to say, hey, they're all here to honor the inductees, well, then put them in a crowd.
Yeah, why are you on the red carpet if you're not in the crowd? What did you come for?
Yeah, what did you do? Did you just walk down a red carpet and then walk home or go home? You know, like that didn't make any sense. So I think you could have used the crowd noise to enhance natural moments where you could have done this pre-taped, which they did. And when the small crowd does clap, you can add just a little bit more sound to where it doesn't sound as depressing, right? And so that's where you could have used that piped in noise. But yeah, this is awesome and all that stuff. No, it was bad. And I honestly felt really sad for the inductees because so many times this has turned into like special moments for these people and they're just giving canned speeches and then getting out of there.
Well, yeah, and like Titus O'Neil's giving a great speech. Like I felt like his speech had a great message. It could be given anywhere outside of even this setting, right? And it just is lost.
Yeah.
The NWO felt weird. Khali, don't even get me started. Just
there were some good moments. So I was on the flip side of it. Titus O'Neil's speech was really good.
The Bellator speech was decent. I liked it. Yeah. I mean, like they suck at reading speeches, but
what they said was fine.
Yeah.
JBL giving credit to Eddie Guerrero, I thought was a good gesture from him. But yeah, I mean,
so I thought the Bellas had a very both professionally and personally cool way of like mentioning Cena and like the influence he had without making a big deal out of it, right? Like she was able to hit it quick, give him his due reverence in both just like in a professional and personal setting, the meaning and impact on that. Like I thought that was neat because that was an interesting thing to think like, boy, how does she address that? You know what I mean? And I thought she did that very well. Very well.
Yeah. That's where a crowd would have been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What would they have done? Would they have taken over the
all
speech?
The ladies who watched the the Total Bellas would have been all over that. They probably would have, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. So it was a miss. It was a miss, and I felt bad for the people inducted because I know that that's a special moment for the talent, and they didn't get to really experience it. So, womp womp.
Well, let's go out to the fans here. I got to get it pulled up here, but we have a fun little segment that we like to play each week, and we call it #TweetTheTable. And we call it that because it's pretty simple. You use #TweetTheTable on Twitter, right? And you tell us your wrestling thoughts. Tell us what you thought about, WrestleMania week. Anything you want, right? We're going to read the best of them right here. And let's see. We got a little bit of time here, Tom. Let's pull up at WIR Cata. He says, there's not a lot of things on AEW that pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
But Tony Schiavone talking to Sting for the 4,852nd time is fucking up there. #TweetTheTable. Yeah, we hit that earlier too. It's a lot.
We just got to find more creative ways than just the same song and dance. If we're going to say we have to get Sting on television, then let's present him differently. Let's have him backstage being confronted by Lance Archer. Let's have him walk out during someone else's promo and he gets to interrupt someone. Just the same Tony Schiavone sounds like a 6-year-old, which was fun once. It's getting played out now. And then Sting walks out. Again, if you're going to do it, I get it, right? Some people just have mandatory dates or whatever in their contract. And you also want for the live crowd to, come to Jacksonville and see Sting, but you got to do some different things here because it's just getting too tired.
Yeah, I just don't. It doesn't always have to be Schiavone either, right? Like, and I get it. Like maybe that's who he's comfortable working with or whatever. But again, this could be a backstage. This could be a, something else. Sting is getting catering and somebody interrupts him, right? Like it doesn't have to be it's Sting every time.
And if if one of your goals is that, hey, during a pandemic, if people are going to, risk their safety and travel to Daly's place to see this show, and one of their things that they want to see is Sting, well, we can do it during commercial break. We can do it post-show. We can do it pre-show. Like, you don't necessarily have to show us that Sting's there, but you can show the crowd who maybe showed up. So, again, just try some new things.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Cata. We'll move on to at JSummers330. Good pal Justin Summers of Wrestling Cheers. Check out that show, Wrestling Podcast.
Come on.
And Life Podcast. Great fun. He says, tired, old, and stale sounds more like Jericho as a whole. #TweetTheTable. Ooh, taking shots at Jericho off of his promo, which to some extent, yes. I think Jericho's got this spiel of like, we get how Jericho speech and the kind of things he's going to say, but he's going to come up with some new dig each time, but it's always going to be some kind of sarcastic twist of words or something, right? Like he's not necessarily like bringing up super deep logical points where you're like, yeah, right? Like it's always just a fun little, he called him a fart, like that kind of stuff. So yes, I mean, I get that. And I think that's where I thought maybe some of this was designed more to build up the Inner Circle guys and feature them on AEW, but it kind of went away from that maybe. And yeah, we're here. I don't want to say necessarily stale, but he's probably tired and he's kind of old.
Yeah, I think the welcomed absence of Inner Circle for a couple weeks was needed, because I've said this multiple times on the podcast where less is more, and it was every week we're doing an Inner Circle dinner or an Inner Circle Vegas trip or an Inner Circle, like, hey, we can stop for a week and let me miss you. We had QuikTrip Marshall talking about Cody, but we didn't see Cody. We can further the storyline and have some type of reference video package without it being Inner Circle, Chris Jericho with a promo or something. You know, it can be different. We don't have to hit over the head. The Inner Circle's here, Sting's here. The Inner Circle's here, Sting's here. The Inner Circle's here, Sting's here. Stop. Variety. You have enough talent to give me some variety.
Yeah. Well, we gave you all kinds of variety. We talked about AEW Dynamite. We talked about the WrestleMania. We talked about the NXT. We talked about the Hall of Fame.
We talked about you.
We talked about you.
Yeah.
We talked about how you can use hashtag Tweet the Table to get on the show just like Kata and Justin did. And you can be our friends. We need more friends. Look, it's just me, Tom, and Kali here, and it's not enough. We need more of you guys.
Is he here?
So check us out, SpanishAnnounceTable.net, as it says up there. And until next week, enjoy WrestleMania.
The Spanish Announce Table.